Hello, KBOI. Once again, the Great Idaho Show. What is great about Idaho? Well, we're going to get right to it. Before we do, don't forget, one of the greatest Idaho businesses, a business of firearms, but not just the gun, the collectibles, the Western, the history, the militaria, and not all just about just the guns either. It is all about that good, fun military stuff, the Western stuff, and the firearms all associated. oldarmsofidaho.com. Give them a call. Think of them like the Antique Roadshow for all that good old historical stuff that made America great and Idaho too. Today is an interesting day. I'm going to be welcoming somebody to the program that has a very familiar last name. I am your host, Dylan Stalker, a multi-generational Idahoan that cares deeply about Idaho and what we're doing. And I'm just trying to share what's great about Idaho. And I'm inviting today Ginger Stalker to the program. Ginger, welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. So why do I invite Ginger Stalker to this program? Ginger, if you will allow me, I'm going to give a very short snap of what we're talking about today. But Ginger is offering us a perspective from an Idaho youth. Our youth here in Idaho is great, especially a fifth generation Idahoan who's seeing what's happening to Idaho with lots of people moving here and lots of perspectives. But Ginger started her career, if you will, in high school with the Boise School District at Capitol High School in COVID, like literally the year that COVID put everything to laptop computers and no school time. That's where she got her start and ended up graduating Capitol High with honors, getting a job with the Idaho Department of Parks and Recreation. I mean, that's about as Idaho as it gets, if you ask me. Following up with that, going straight to University of Idaho to study forestry with fire ecology as a specialty, and then getting a job fighting fire for the state of Montana this summer. Ginger, we're going to review what your thoughts are, what it's like to be a part of Idaho, and really, you've went through Idaho high schools, Idaho colleges, Idaho state jobs, and, we'll get right into it. How are you feeling over there?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm excited to talk about my experience and how much I love about Idaho and just a little bit of how, a young perspective can, give some insight what Idaho's like.
I love it. So that leads me to one of my favorite questions. What do you love about Idaho?
I love everything about Idaho. I really love the landscape. Clearly, as you can hear, I'm getting my degree in forestry and fire ecology. I really love the outdoors, and that's a big part of Idaho. We have one of the largest public lands available out to the community. A lot of the other states, it's very private, and a lot of things are getting sold, and I love the opportunity to just be able to go outside and enjoy it and keep it open for the public and keeping the land safe and allowing the wildlife to explore around, still live there, and have just a healthy ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, we are in, the whole gosh darn state is a recreation area from the top to the bottom. It's one of the best.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So let's go back to the education years. Why do we talk about this? One of the top two concerns, if you ask people politically, this is the Great Idaho Show. We're not talking about politics here, but one of the top two concerns of all of Idaho is education. In the 9th grade year, your start ultimately at Capitol High School, you were issued a laptop. You were not able to go outside by many means. How was that experience? And talk about, what your friends were thinking or experiencing. What do you think?
It was a really hard struggle to have to push through, going through school on a computer. I mean, my PE class was on a computer.
Right.
What you were set to do is we were told, take a video of yourself running a mile. I mean, that's an odd thing to have to go through. Even going outside was kind of odd, living in a nice neighborhood with a park. You didn't get to see kids outside anymore. There was no outdoor lunch programs that we used to go do. Yeah. You wouldn't go hang out with your friends. There was just a lot of concerns, and meeting new people was really hard. For me at that time, I didn't have social media, so reaching out to my friends was pretty slim. And if you weren't having your small friend groups, then you weren't hanging out with them every single day. So it was a really big social issue of just growing up. I mean, those are some of the prime times. I know a lot of people that, my parents' friends and even you guys who have had friends for years and years, and you go outside and you just, even going to Costco and you just see these people, but I don't have a lot of friends that stayed with me, especially through those junior high years, because I wasn't able to really connect to anybody during that time. So it was a hard struggle starting out in 8th grade, going straight into COVID, just trying to get a good start and get into high school and getting good grades, and then get dealt with that. And it's just an really odd situation to be put into.
I thought one thing that I thought was weird is the whole grading scale was completely destroyed through COVID. I mean, you could not even show up to class via a computer every day, and they gave everybody C's. I can't imagine what's like for somebody who you participated in I don't think you missed a single day. And to see, all of these people just like handed, here you go, and they were just on vacation and you were still just rolling with it.
It made it really hard to learn, and first of all, to even want to learn. I was really big on school growing up. I got a really good opportunity going to Answer Charter School, and there was a lot of great community there, and we got to do a lot of interesting different activities and going outside and meeting a lot of different communities of people and just outreach. But then going straight from there, it just made it hard. There's no drive. There's no necessity for me. For some people, it was, if you're going to just get the C and pass, then what's the point of trying when you can do things that are less difficult? Because not saying that there was like an incentive, because if you just get a C, then you're already passing. For me, I really appreciate like having those good grades. That's something for me that I really strive to keep doing throughout college when I graduate, because I mean, whether you like it or not, there are benefits to getting the good grades other than just passing. Scholarships, and especially once the high school years, once freshman year came to me, then I needed those good grades for school. And if I just got a C and passed, like some people, there was no necessity to really try at that point.
I mean, but it was also kind of interesting to me that, I think that you and many others put a lot of efforts in, and there was no such thing as an A. In the weird time frames, all the kids that did go and put in all their efforts, it was like it washed out. And I think you had a tough blow when it came to that. But another thing that was interesting is what's your favorite sport?
My favorite sport is rugby.
Rugby.
Yep.
You were at Capitol High School, which was one of the most renowned rugby schools in all of Boise, and then bam, COVID. That like nearly destroyed it. What was your experience with that?
Well, a lot of sports struggled, especially on the club level, because currently now I still believe that Capitol High School and the Boise School District does not recognize rugby as a D1 varsity sport, so that's kind of an issue. Basketball was another sport that I played a little while in high school, and that was a big struggle. I mean, having to be in a gym with a bunch of other girls, unable to touch each other and get in close quarters. Like, yes, basketball is not a contact sport like rugby is, but having to be indoors and wearing masks and just running around, it was really a struggle, and you didn't have team bonding after school. It was just kind of an odd thing, not having those same connections like you did when I was early on before COVID in junior high. So that was definitely it was a really odd time. But we pushed through it, and the women's rugby team at Capitol High School definitely had a hard blow, but we pushed through it.
Well, we're coming up here on the end of this segment. We've got about 1 minute and 30 seconds, and we're going to transition from Capitol High School, being on the honor roll, going through and leading through that. And we're going to come into this next segment and talk about your opportunities that you discovered through the Idaho State Parks and Recreation. I mean, what a great opportunity. I love that experience that you had. Well, if you had one thing to say about the Boise School District, Capitol High School, going to high school in Idaho, real quick, what would you say?
I think it's a great community of people. Yeah, there's, of course, always been the issues with COVID and a lot of diversity being pushed through, but I think everybody really just sticks together, and there's a lot of great people there, and I think that's one of the biggest things that matters. Whether or not you're good at school or you're not driven to have to complete all those things, I think the people just play the biggest role.
Yeah, I mean, it is about the community. It was a pretty close community. I think we're lucky here in Idaho. Idaho. We're in the greatest state, in my opinion. This is the Great Idaho Show. We're talking to Ginger Stalker, a youth's perspective on Idaho, going from high school to a state job with Idaho, right up to University of Idaho, and then getting into firefighting. We'll be right back. This is the Great Idaho Show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, the Great Idaho Show. This is your host, Dylan Stalker, multi-generational Idahoan. Just trying to share with you what's great about Idaho. Don't forget Old Arms of Idaho. They are your firearms, Western, and military specialist, oldarmsofidaho.com. We are here this wonderful day on 670 AM, 93.1 FM with Ginger Stalker, who is offering us a youth perspective on what it was like to go through an Idaho high school, work a state of Idaho job, go to a University of Idaho, and end up fighting fire while studying forestry. That sounds like a lot of Idaho stuff going on to me, but let's get into your experience, Ginger, with working for the Idaho Department of Parks and Recreation, the Idaho State Parks and Rec, right? Is that IDPR?
Yep, IDPR.
IDPR. You know it pretty well, don't you?
Yep, I was there for a whole summer. A great group of people. We were on the non-motorized crew, so it was me and my two overhead. Great people, really sweet. It was a tight-knit group. We handled the yurts in Idaho City. We even got to do a little bit of trail work, so I got to see some of the stuff about that. And
yeah.
I think a big part was meeting some of the other crews, like the motorized crew, which you have talked to Michael Lindenfelser, who was on the show earlier on,
Yep.
and he said some great things about all the trails and whatnot, but it was really interesting seeing that side and seeing them come into work every day after going on their long, I think it was like 2-week shifts, a week shift, and then they have a couple days off, but going around, there's a lot of trails out there, and there's a lot of open
17,000 miles
just
of trail
miles
in
and
Idaho.
miles open out to the public and free for anybody to go on whenever they want.
Yeah, that is amazing. It was a fun conversation talking to Michael Lindenfelser because he manages the motorized crew. And yeah, they get out there and they ride the trails, they clean them, they make sure they're clear and that they're safe. And man, can you imagine just a job all summer long of jumping on a motorcycle, riding out into Idaho's great wilderness? But tough job there.
Yeah, tough job. They got some cool equipment too. That was one of my favorite things, going into they got a nice little garage with all their huge bikes.
Yeah.
I originally wanted to be on that crew, and that was something I was thinking about, but dang, their bikes are huge, and they got all their equipment on it. They got their saws and everything like that attached on their bikes so they could go up and down the trails and clear everything out. But it's pretty hardy, but they got a nice little setup and some good people out there.
Yeah, I mean, hard work. For sure. You didn't exactly get dealt the easiest job that summer, did you?
No, so I cut about, let's see, over 20 cords of wood with me and one other gentleman. That was an interesting job, and loading and unloading cords of wood for all the yurts. I think there was about, I can't remember how many there are. I'd have to look it up.
Too many to count.
I think around 6. A lot of beautiful. Some of them are pretty old. They're ranging from different ages, but they're really beautiful areas, and they're open for the public to rent out. You just go on the website and you can find them, and they got some great trails around there too. You could even hike up to the yurts if you'd like. Just great people and great places, and it's really interesting, all the stuff that's available to the public.
You know, as somebody who went to the military, I was a lost soul there as a young man, and it's really challenging to find a mentor outside of your family. Your mom and dad are always there for you, but you know, for a lot of people, one of the most impactful people you end up meeting in your life is somebody that you meet that leads you after that. This individual that you worked with just sounds like the greatest person on the planet.
Yeah, Zane, he was really awesome. It's just literally me and him in one truck driving about, like an hour to Idaho City from where the building was for IDPR, and we'd just drive out almost every single day, and we'd clean out gray water lines, and we'd cut out some areas, we'd clean the yurts, we'd help clean out trails. We cut so many cords of wood.
Oh my goodness.
Absolutely crazy how many. I didn't even think that was physically possible for me to do. It was like 3 cords a day in the morning from like 7 a.m. we'd leave the office to 12 because it was hot that summer and it's smoky from all the fires going around. So, I mean, we'd try to end early, but man, that was an interesting experience as an 18-year-old.
4 10-hour days as an 18-year-old, going straight into bucking 3/4 firewood a day. And then you were telling me those projects where Zane would drive the excavator and you would do the gray water thing. You're like, that's not the most fun thing in the whole world, dealing with the gray water off the yurts.
No, it was one of our last projects. It was kind of interesting, though, just looking at it, because they weren't all made cookie cutter. It was just kind of like a lot of ingenuity was made by whoever built it at the time. So when we dug up the ground, it was definitely interesting what we saw on the ground, because it wasn't right. And there was some interesting parts that we were trying to find, and we could not find it for the life of us. But we made it work, and we rigged something that works pretty well and hopefully will last a long time. And it's kind of interesting to know that the gray water in the ground little container is something that I helped build for that. It's going to hopefully last long. So.
Yeah, you're like, because you don't want anybody else behind you to have to deal with.
I don't want anybody to have to dig that out of the ground. Yeah. So it better last long.
We are so lucky here in Idaho to have a Department of Recreation that is out there actively making some of the most amazing experiences that you can. If you love single track trail riding, motorcycle riding, mountain biking, horse riding, I mean, you name it, you can cover it all and try every day of the rest of your life, and you'll never see every single trail, and you got firewood, and your mom and dad have a large need for firewood, so we're really excited for you to come back and get to work.
Start getting you some cords of wood.
Yeah,
well, I can do that for you.
Absolutely. Let's do
I may not be a smart one, but I for sure know that I can get you some wood if you need it.
I don't believe you in that not smart stuff. Just listen to the language that you're hearing. As you will always hear me say, I love professionals. I love people that believe in professionalism. And you can always tell when you're dealing with a professional through the language that they are using. And Ginger is very, very professional. I can assure you that. So, that was a really fast move into work ethic. I mean, what do you think that's like comparative to most people just getting out of high school? What do you think they're experiencing, or what would they think of that kind of job?
Well, originally I did work at the Sourdough Lodge. That was my first job up in Loman by the cabin. And it was a great first job. I think everybody should do customer service or some kind of restaurant work. I think it's really good for work ethic and being able to work with the public. I mean, that's a huge thing about being a part of the state of Idaho, like as a state department. You need to represent well, like you need to be able to talk to the public. You're working for the public. So if you can't communicate with them properly, like there was many occasions where we'd go up to the yurts and sometimes people would be in there because it is code based. So if you know the code, then people sometimes sneak in there and do things that maybe they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
Or people would just be hiking around, just checking things out. So you need to be able to talk with them. And I mean, we're all just people. Like I may wear a shirt that says that I work for the state, but in the end, anybody that you meet, it's just anybody. And as an 18-year-old growing up, that was seemed like a pretty big responsibility at the time. And I mean, it definitely is. But I definitely think that restaurant worked for me, like going at the Sourdough Lodge and having to manage tables and talk to parents and kids who are hungry after going whitewater rafting all day. Like you need to be able to just work the angles and talk to the people and just be friendly. That's all that matters. But definitely compared to some other students, I mean, there are some differences. You got to have that strong professionalism side. And lastly, you got to love it. If you don't like the outdoors, then you're not going to like that job. I mean, there was a lot of drive time, like I said, that hour drive just to get out there. But I mean, you're going to be hot and sweaty. You're wearing your uniform. You got to wear your long sleeves when you're cutting and sawing. Just got to be able to enjoy the work. Sometimes put your head down and just got to push through it if you're maybe not enjoying it too much. But overall, I really loved it. And I think a lot of kids can benefit from getting a state job. And because there's more than just the Parks and Rec side. There's so many jobs available to students. And I'm sure the state would love to have some young people come through.
Yeah, it's a great introduction and a great opportunity. It's not just like going to a McDonald's or something like that, which I support, by the way. It's just about showing up and doing the job that you signed up for, regardless of what it is. I would like to plug for the Idaho State Parks and Rec today to say that I'm pretty sure that the motorized trail team is hiring. And imagine that you can get an opportunity to get paid to ride a motorcycle all over Idaho. Let me tell you what, you will be working. There's a lot of work going on, but to get paid to roll trails all over Idaho, see Idaho's bounty, and work for a great state organization like the Idaho State Parks and Rec, it's just an awesome opportunity. You should look them up. I think there's some opportunities in the non-motorized too. And I do believe that it works for summers. Do you recall, or they're pretty open to the summer work, Ginger?
They're great with summer work. Honestly, you're outside. It's going to be seasonal work. I mean, once the snow hits, especially in those higher elevations where that snowpack is just so thick, you're not going to be able to always get in there unless you're like a yearly paid person. There's a lot of seasonal opportunities. And honestly, telling your friends, I'm going to go work on a motorized crew and I'm just going to ride around. That sounds pretty cool, telling your friends that that's what you're going to go do for the summer. So honestly, just go reach out, try and make as many connections as you can. Reach out early. I mean, that's all that matters. Even if maybe they don't have a position this summer or next summer, just reach out and hopefully you can get a slot to go do it another time and get that experience for maybe one season where you could just go ride around and hang out and do some good work.
And with some really, really, really great people, some salt of the earth Idahoans for sure. Man, I wish I would have had that opportunity when I was a kid. I took it for the military, similar, but this right here is all about Idaho. So again, if you have a young individual or you yourself, take a look at Idaho State Parks and Rec for those motorized trail crew jobs. I think there are some out there. Michael Lindenfelser is a name you could reach out to. Great man. He was interviewed on the Great Idaho Show. For that, you can look back at thegreatidahoshow.com. And always, let's get back to ladies and gentlemen and say oldarmsofidaho.com, your ambassadors to America's heritage, the 24-hour gun show. Don't forget it when you have something that you believe is collectible in the name of firearms, Western, and militaria. That is it. We will be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. KBOI 670 AM, 93.1 FM, The Great Idaho Show. I am your host, Dylan Stalker, multi-generational Idahoan. You know, the opinions of Idahoans do matter. I know y'all just got here, or many of you did, and you're like, what are you, an Idahoan? Well, yes, and this is what's great about Idaho today. We're talking to a youth of Idaho, Ginger Stalker, a person that had succeeded through the challenging times of COVID and the high school education system here in Idaho, right into a wonderful state job. And now in this segment, Ginger, let's talk about your experience of graduating high school and let's go to college, and what were the challenges? What was the whole thing like? I mean, the first inspiration that comes to your mind when it was like, okay, it's time to do something with your life. What do you think?
It was definitely an interesting transition going from high school to the summer and just instantly clean slate. There's nothing.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I'm not being told what classes I have to take. There's no requirements for me. I could go to the military. I could go straight into the workforce. I could go to college, or I could try and stay in my parents' house for the rest of my life.
Hey, none of that. Now let's get this straight right now, Ginger. There's a lot of kids out there that believe that, and we are a human body that must do stuff, and being independent is absolutely one of them. But thank you. You are one of those. Go ahead.
So it was definitely an interesting transition there, like I was saying. I didn't originally know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I had no idea. The military was really intriguing to me. I did take the ASVAB in high school. I got reached out to by a couple of the different branches, and I was hinting and thinking about the idea and flirting with maybe I could just do that and maybe get a career or do the 4 years and then go back to college and have like some sort of a basis and pay for it a little bit.
Yeah.
So that was definitely something interesting to me.
And your dad's trying to get you to join the Space Force. That was kind of interesting.
That was interesting for a little while, trying to contact all those people. which I didn't end up doing that. Like we were saying before, I did end up picking going to the University of Idaho throughout that time. I didn't even know what degree I wanted to go into until I'd say until June or July. So summer was already starting.
Yeah.
It was getting pretty close to when I started to needed to make some decisions about what I was going to do. I didn't personally want to take a gap year and take another year to make the decision. I wanted to either go into the military to give myself those 4 years to make a decision to maybe go back to college.
Yeah, it gives you a little time, right?
Go straight into college or pick something. Like, I need to do something quick. I'm somebody who needs something to do, and if I'm just sitting around, like, I don't know.
But let's go back. There's a piece in there of your experience and what it's like. You were offered a scholarship.
The launch scholarship.
For rugby.
Oh, are you talking about the rugby one? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Chicago.
you've got lots of decisions in there.
I forgot about rugby. I do love rugby, and that was definitely something that was pretty big. That I did do some tournaments. I went to Florida for Tropical Sevens, and I went to Utah for NAI Sevens. So it's a bunch of rugby tournaments, and rugby was really big for me. There was a big chunk of time where I really thought that was something I was going to go into and try and do D1 over in Chicago, but I decided against it after discovering I just wasn't interested in any degrees, because I was going to be a business major and I was going to go to BSU and be a Bronco.
Yeah.
But I decided against it. It was never internally set for me that I had to go to college. If I was going to go to college, it had to be something that I loved and that I was going to do. And I knew that once I was just like, maybe I'll just do like a business degree. It was more of like a Hail Mary for me, like a last minute, like, oh, I'll just do this just so I have something to do. But it wasn't really necessarily anything that I loved, or that didn't really give me a straight set path. Even though it's a great idea, some people thrive in the business degrees. There's a lot of great things that you can do with that. But I just needed something more direct for me, and forestry ended up being that for me.
Forestry in Idaho. This is a forestry state. I mean, take a look at if you're a young individual, you're hearing this, just look around your community with what is a major part of where you live, and there's opportunity everywhere. Forestry is such a tremendous opportunity here in Idaho because, I mean, how many ways can you approach forestry, Ginger? There's fire, there's other things.
There's so many different things. You could look at the bugs and the infestations. You could look at the health of the forest. You could do heavy equipment. There's a lot of different stuff. And at the University of Idaho, they help you find those different paths. There's a lot of emphases that you can get. I almost did a hydrology emphasis, and I was going to do all the water stuff and try and learn more about that. It ended up not being what I wanted to focus in on. I decided to pick more on the fire side because I really love that more, and that's something that intrigues me. But at the University of Idaho in the natural resources program, there's such a wide variety of things that you could play into, and a lot of those degrees match up. So it's really easy to do a double major because you can condense your classes. So you're getting 2 degrees, but taking less classes than a normal student. Say if you were taking like a forestry degree and you were getting like a journalism degree. Those two are hard to cross over, but a lot of the natural resources degrees, you have to take the same classes. So it's easier to condense them into one.
So there is a little bit of Idaho politics in this question, which is you participated in the Idaho launch program. Right now, there are a lot of people saying, oh, this program, it's usually a lot of really extreme right-wing people that are like, you're just blowing money and we should save money. And this program was given to people to go learn a trade. But now it's being used to do a 4-year degree or associate to that. What would you say to those folks? I mean, you use this program and are using it for something about as Idaho associated as I can think of, forestry.
I definitely think I understand some people's opinions on it. I mean, it's definitely kind of a sketchy thing, and if some people don't use it correctly, then it kind of really does suck. If you are giving this opportunity to a student that maybe doesn't really enjoy school or that just doesn't use it correctly and just isn't using it to a full potential, then it's really unfortunate. But for students like me or students in the trades, the Idaho Launch Program covers, from my understanding, a lot of different varieties of careers and can help a lot of students out get that kickstart into what they want to do instead of just dilly-dallying around and not being able to even afford to do what they want. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to where college was available to me, and I felt comfortable whether or not, like, I did have to get a lot of scholarships for that because I really fought for those. But some students, even with a bunch of scholarships, college is expensive.
Man, it's adding up, isn't it?
I'm lucky to where I got to go to University of Idaho as an in-state student, but looking at the other schools that I applied to and even going out of state, the application fees are like $100 alone just for the application fee. And that's just for me to ask the school, hey, do you think I could be a student here? That's not even the tip of the iceberg. And it's just thousands and thousands of dollars for just 1 year, one semester.
Yeah.
And if people can't afford to use those, then it's really unfortunate. So I got lucky. And I really do think for me that it was beneficial, and I think it could be beneficial to a lot of different students if they use it correctly.
Yeah, use it correctly. And hopefully, I think what a real major point of it is hopefully that they find homes here in Idaho, become a part of a bigger, better, smarter, and participating economy, and bring those skills and experience right back here in Idaho. But of course, there's no way to make those restrictions. I too, as a person that helped support you through that, will say that I am thankful. I don't know what's right or wrong about the money spending, but if you're out there listening, there are people that are using it and doing it in the best way possible for things that are right here in Idaho. Forestry. So what else going on at University of Idaho? You've got a little thing going on with the experimental forest. Describe that a little bit.
So the experimental forest is something run by the University of Idaho. I haven't really gotten into the details because I haven't had the opportunity to work there yet, but I've heard a lot of great things about it. They do a lot of course, experimenting, and they do a lot of logging, commercialization of wood. There's a lot of opportunities with the heavy equipment, like fella bunchers and a bunch of really interesting things that I think the students at University of Idaho should be able to utilize, and they're getting opportunities and jobs. I'm fortunate enough to where I've did my interviews and I'm going to have a job there over this during the school year. So hopefully I get a little bit of hands-on stuff. There's fire. There's a lot of different stuff, and looking at the tree stands and doing identifications of trees. So it's really all interesting. And if there's any students that are interested in that stuff, I think it's a great opportunity to not only just learn there, but also have a job and get a kickstart into your career if maybe you need something that's a little bit easier to roll into.
Well, let's talk about what we're going to come into our next segment. I'll kind of lead with a question here. Our next segment, we're going to talk about your firefighting experience, because again, it just seems to be such a great snapshot of the experience of participating in Idahoan type careers and experience. But you are on the dean's list, a straight A freshman year person. You know, you don't have to get the A's. A C is a pass in college. You get that degree. Why all the hard work, Ginge?
Personally, for me, I've originally struggled a lot when I was a kid with school. I really loved it, but some things just didn't click for me, and some teachers didn't click for me right. And to me, having an A, yes, C's are passing. I think in college, like, a lot of these classes can be difficult and all those things, but I think if you can strive enough to get those good grades and you have the availability, some people have multiple jobs and that's not as attainable for them as it is to me. I have a job, I'm in 2 different clubs, and I'm in the leadership for 2 of those. And so hopefully during this semester I can keep those good grades up, but they reward you in the right places. If you put the hard work in, and even writing a little essay for scholarships, you can get some money off, and sometimes the school rewards you for those things. Yeah. There's like little incentives that maybe on surface value, it's like, yes, it's really difficult, but I think if you have the availability to do it, I think it's something personally for me that I really strive for, just because, I don't know, it's kind of nice at the end of the year to be like, I accomplished that and I got really good grades. And sometimes those don't always transfer to careers and jobs. Like as a firefighter, you don't need a degree. Well,
let me add to that. We're going to come into this next segment. We've got about 2 minutes left here, but this leads into the next segment, which is you worked really hard. You achieved your grades. You paid attention to your professors. You listened, you communicated, and you engaged. Well, you know, when it's time to get a summer job, how did that lead to you maybe getting these opportunities working with the state of Montana?
Biggest thing was the connections with my professors, especially in the natural resources degrees. These people, a lot of professors are people who actively still work in their careers and sometimes do teaching on the side, or they know a lot of people. They make those connections. They go to conferences. They talk to people. They learn from others in that career, and they make those connections. So then you're not always having to make them. So if my professors, I've utilized them a lot. I talk to them a lot, and I ask them, I'm just like, what do you think about this? Like, do you know anybody that I could talk to about this? Yes, it's important to do your own networking, like going to school career fairs. The school career fairs are great. In college, they set those up for you.
These people are begging for employees. All you have to do is apply yourself. Right?
All you got to do is just walk by. There was a career fair. I literally walked by the same table like 3 separate times. And they remembered me over the phone because, quite to be honest, I probably annoyed them a little bit. But I mean, if it got the point across and I got the interview and they offered me a job, that's all that matters in the end, because I proved those things, and having the connections with the professors really helped because they set those up for me. So if you do good in your classes and you get good grades and you prove to your teachers that you actually care, especially in the ones set for your degree, then you can make some great improvements and gets a head start on your career.
Well, I think what Ginger is expressing is the only difference between those that do and those that don't are those that do just did. That's what it is. Ginger, you know it. Thank you for picking up on that. And yes, you get out what you put into it. And there are great opportunities here in Idaho. And thank goodness, God bless Idaho. This is the Great Idaho Show. We're talking to Ginger Stalker, Idaho Youth. We will be right back. Welcome back, KBOI, the Great Idaho Show. This is your multi-generational Idahoan, Dylan Stalker, sitting with Ginger Stalker. Yes, my daughter. I don't talk to a lot of people, folks. I don't watch TV. I work, and I've just wanted to find a perspective on a young individual that maybe went through COVID in a Boise high school or an Idaho high school, engaged in college, worked for a state job or something that is all Idaho. And I believe that Ginger is that. You know, she graduated her high school career at Capitol High School, went on to work for Idaho State Department of Recreation, was going to the University of Idaho for Forestry, and now we're going to talk a little bit about your firefighting experience, your interest in fire. When did that really pick up for you? Because I'm not so sure that was right when you picked your forestry degree.
No, when I picked my forestry degree, like I was talking a little about earlier, I was going to go into water. I was going to go in hydrology and watershed management, which is really interesting. I am not a math-orientated person, so doing physics and all that math stuff wasn't the biggest thing for me. I would have pushed through it because I think it's super interesting, and I think those jobs are really important. But for me, that became a little bit more daunting the more I went through, especially during that freshman year. I mean, that's hard. Already having to decide, first of all, what college you're going to, pick a degree which costs a lot of money, and just saying, yep, this is what I'm doing for the rest of my life is already daunting. So then already making it more specific there was kind of stressful. But the first introductory I got into fire was my fire ecology class at the University of Idaho. Really great people. Had a lot of cool opportunities. I even joined the SAFE Club, Student Association of Fire Ecologists, and some really cool opportunities. We get to do prescribed burns. We do a lot of thinning projects and sawing and whatnot. Really interesting. I'm really excited for this year. I'm on the leadership board. I have an officer position, so we'll see how good I represent the SAFE Club.
I got to tell you, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, as a logger, as somebody who has ran a chainsaw, moved logs, done all the stuff, I can't tell you how proud I was when I got the photo of you all kitted up running your chainsaw the first time in the forestry sense, because your rancher type loggers are not always wearing all the safety gear the way that they should be.
Cowboy boots, jeans, and maybe a t-shirt on, maybe some sunglasses. Yeah, it's definitely been a whole thing. Yeah, that picture that you're talking about was from my S212 class, because I mean, a lot of people have experience doing like just going out on your property doing saw work or clearing out a road or something like that before they go into fire, but you have to get your red card, and to be able to get that, you have to do your S212 class and prove that you know how to run a saw correctly and that you know how to maybe cut a tree down if they trust you enough. But overall, yeah, it was a great experience. And I don't know, learned a lot, even though, I mean, like I said, I cut all that wood. But I mean, no matter how many times I use a saw, there's always something. Somebody has a little technique and there's somewhere where you can make improvements. So
I got to say, having experienced a PD fire last year, man, those chainsaws go for days. They just, do they ever break down? My goodness.
I don't know. Sometimes you hear the old farts coming around and they look at the saw. It's the carburetor.
Yeah.
I know that thing's not running, so we got to take it in. It's the carb, I swear.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Sometimes the saws that I've been running sometimes get a little finicky, but if you know how to take care of them well, you know how to take them apart, you can figure out what the problem is. Just sometimes, I don't know, you got to be careful. You don't want to mess around with the carb. That's the only thing I know. Don't touch the carb. Don't touch the carb. That's all I know.
So who are you working with? Who did you work with this summer? What was your role?
I was working with the DNRC, and I was just a FFT2.
What is a DNRC? For all the radio land folks, that sounds like acronyms.
Department of Natural Resources and Conservation in Montana.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yep.
So you were doing, what part of a crew were you associated to?
I was just an engine crew. So the DNRC has a lot of different sections and units. I was working on an engine crew, and honestly, it was really exciting, really fun. It's kind of interesting. There's a lot that I had to learn about in the different parts and learn how to run, how to draft water, how to pump water. We even have to, every year, we have to do like little classes to have to take and like do the math of like the elevation gain versus the water and the friction. Nobody's actually doing that on a fire line, but it's pretty cool to have to sit down there and do all the math. But
if somebody from the news organization walks up, they want to make it sound like you know what you're talking about, because there is
absolutely.
a science
the
to
friction and the math and the and the elevation. That's about all I know.
You went out on a few fires this summer. It was a pretty calm year this year.
Pretty calm in Montana. It was really good for the amount of moisture that we got. Of course, Idaho, I've been watching that like a hawk every single day. I got my Watch Duty app, just watching that. It's been really unfortunate seeing how much it's been burning, but I mean, there's a balance between it. Some of it's good, sometimes it's bad. I mean, especially with the WUI, that's a big scary part. I mean, I know where I was fighting fire, there was a lot of problems with it mixing in with houses and infrastructure and a lot of resources like that. So I don't know all the logistics about what was going on in Idaho, but every time I have all the notifications set on Watch Duty for all the fires that would pop up in Idaho. I mean, even on the way up, driving back home from the bunkhouse, I passed by two different fires just on the way here. And it was, I don't know, it's an interesting perspective going from being in the public, then becoming a firefighter, and then driving back, just having to drive by, watch, and do nothing.
Yeah.
Just see you later, guys. See all the engines pass by, and I'm like, that was me.
I'm quitting college. I'm getting back to the fire.
I flirted with the idea. I was like, I just want to stay a little longer.
I'm turning the mics off right now. You're never flirting with the idea of quitting college. That's it.
I'm not quitting college. It's just fun. Good people. There's a lot of interesting work too, and a lot of cool things, working with helicopters, bucket drops, equipment, and just, I don't know. But college is important, knowing the why, not just how.
Yeah. Just
being told, oh, go do this. Why though? Why are these things happening? Knowing the logistical sides, knowing the science. A lot of the weather is really interesting. I learned a lot about that at University of Idaho, and I really appreciate having all that additional knowledge, because honestly, yes, you don't need a degree, and you can climb up the ranks as just a normal person without a degree, but I mean, a degree anywhere can be helpful if you use it correctly. And I mean, some people without it do fine, but I really appreciate what my education has allowed me to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the two sides of the military. You've got your commissioned officers and your non-commissioned officers, and those commissioned officers, they have an education, and that didn't come for free, and they, get their status for what they're doing. But you certainly have the people that worked up through the ranks from private all the way up to master sergeant or above, and or an E8, if you will, and it's kind of like the same thing. What would you say to any young individual coming through high school and just, wow, it's a big world out there. What do I do?
I think any seasonal job is great, or literally any job that you can get. The seasonal work for me, I mean, I am an outdoorsy orientated person. I love the outdoors. There's been roles and times where we would get a call in the middle of the night, and my favorite thing would be when they flirted with the idea of making us sleep there, and I had nothing with me. It was so exciting. It was so fun.
Just to lay in the dirt.
Just to lay in the dirt was
Yeah.
so exciting to me. But some people don't like that, and you just need to find what you're passionate about. Even if that's even retail work, even working at a restaurant. Maybe you hate that job, but there's great people there. You're getting some money, and then it gives you a little bit of free will to go do things that you do love and make some money, and maybe even connections. Like, I know there's some great opportunities, like you talked about McDonald's earlier. They hire managers all the time, and then they build up slowly up through those ranks. No matter where you are, there's going to be a rank, and you can climb up those. As long as you be strategic and meet the right people, you can get pretty much anywhere. You just got to strive to get those connections. The people is where you make the money.
Sure, absolutely. I would make a point for the youth that there is so many opportunities here in Idaho to not just go be a firefighter or a parks and rec person seasonally. Think of Redfish Lodge or the Sawtooth Lodge in Grand Jean, Idaho, the Sourdough Lodge. There's a lot of recreational lake type river
whitewater rafting
lodges,
is great.
Snowboarding,
rafting, skiing,
absolutely.
Bogus Basin,
Cascade raft and kayak. They hire young individuals often, train them up, and you can go and ride the river all summer long.
Seasonal work is great. It's a season. If it's a summer job, it's a summer job. You can't go fight fire in December. I don't know. You can. Some people do some weird stuff, but relatively, naturally, fires aren't starting in December and January. So if you work it right, you can find the job that works best for you. And firefighting has been that for me, and doing that state parks and rec has been great for me. So you just need to find something. You can just keep growing from there.
Absolutely. Well, Ginger, I want to thank you for participating in the show. I do think you have a wonderful perspective. You've certainly proven yourself in professionalism, experience, and your ability to carry a conversation with a crazy old man behind a microphone here in a KBOI studio. This is the Great Idaho Show. thegreatidahoshow.com. You can listen to all of our conversations 24 hours a day. And please, ladies and gentlemen, do not forget our sponsor, Old Arms of Idaho, oldarmsofidaho.com. They are your ambassadors to America's heritage and the 24-hour gun show. Thank you.